I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
The people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughingstock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that.
President Trump at the White House Saturday night in a press conference following a third assassination attempt on his life at the Correspondents' Dinner. A gunman rushing the Secret Service checkpoint at the Washington Hilton Saturday night. Police say the 31-year-old from California was armed with multiple weapons as he opened fire, hitting a Secret Service officer in his bulletproof vest. The officer is going to be okay. The suspect, meanwhile, is expected in court today. He will be arraigned. Law enforcement telling Fox he had a manifesto outlining his intent, including targeting Trump administration officials. The president emphasizing the need for the White House ballroom. I spoke with him yesterday, and the president told me that a room like the room at the Hilton cannot really be truly secured because you've got thousands of people sitting on top of one another. And that is one reason that the White House needs a ballroom to accommodate events like this, large groups. Joining me now is KA Consulting President and Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, it's good to see you. You know, I know that you've been watching all of this, and I want to get your take on what this means for the backdrop going into the midterm elections. I thought it was really coincidental, strange that President Obama comes out and he runs a tweet. He posts a tweet and he says, oh, we still don't know the motive. Now, of course, we know the motive. We know the motive because he left a manifesto. But I'm just wondering if Obama is trying to message out to his, to his followers so that they pick up that line because they're afraid and worried that this incident is going to create people who are sympathetic to President Trump for all that he's been going through for the last 10 years, including 3 attempts at his life.
Well, there are many people sympathetic to President Trump and the other, quote, Trump administration officials in that room, Maria, because obviously in the manifesto, this crazed lunatic was targeting them. Look, we've all become household names, and nobody asked for that. We got here because we're known for our work, our success in helping this president to bring forward the America First agenda. I'm looking at very pregnant friends and colleagues running, not knowing what's going on, if they're going to be okay. This is terrible, and there's only one proper thing to say, and it doesn't need to be on Twitter, everybody. You can just call a former president can call a current president and say, I'm so sorry, I'm so glad you and the First Lady are safe, that the administration officials are safe, our culture has changed, and maybe if President Obama has the kind of standing that he thinks he has, then he could call off some of these comedians who just the day before were referring to our First Lady Melania Trump as, quote, an expectant widow in some non-funny comedy skit. They can call out this idiot, Hasan Piker, who we're all forced to learn more about because he's glorifying the murder of Brian Thompson, because in February 2025, he said, hey, if the Republicans want to look at fraud, waste and abuse in Medicare and Medicaid, they should, quote, kill Rick Scott, a former Florida governor and sitting United States senator. These people are calling for violence way too often and letting it go. And the president is far more gracious than I think a lot of us feel these days because there's a lot of fear in the air. Maria, look, here's the message of the day, and here's where President Obama could be helpful if he feels like he even has to tweet at all. Nobody said he has to. Everybody get off of Twitter. Stop being a tweeter. Be a leader. Get back to the Senate today and fund DHS. That's what you can do. I'm so sick of the Democratic senators on social media yesterday. Some of them, I'm sure, were in the ballroom, being protected by our brave men and women of Secret Service and other details. I want them to come back and stop holding up this funding. DHS has been trying to be funded since January. They keep denying it because they're turning up the heat on ICE. DHS is also TSA. If you wait in the long lines, that's their fault. It's also FEMA. If you're upset with the way disaster recovery goes under Biden, certainly they ignored what happened in North Carolina and other places. That's the Democrats' fault. There's so much that our brave men and women at DHS must get done to help all of us. And these same people saying, oh, they did a great job on Saturday night protecting me, myself, and I, their three favorite people, refuse to fund DHS. It's become a partisan issue, and it's very sad. We don't need to hear from people. My problem with social media is everybody thinks they have to tell you at all times what they're eating, what they're thinking. We can have unexpressed thoughts in this country, and we can have more leadership from the Democratic side, including Obama, and we can have more action and less talk.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's the point that I was making earlier, the fact that, you know, this doesn't happen without the media amplifying some of these lies on the left. You know, these Secret Service people who whisked President Trump and the First Lady off the dais, they haven't been paid in 72 days. You know, we've been talking about these, you know, these political violence. I mean, you know, it's amazing to me that we are in the middle of a war. We have another attempt at President Trump's life, and yet we don't have the Department of Homeland Security fully opened. And then you've got, you know, left-wing agitators. Yeah, go ahead.
No, Maria, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Did those Secret Service stop and look at any of the senators and say, are you a Democratic senator who's not paying me? Oh, I don't want to protect you. They protect everyone, meaning they run toward the urgency. They do an amazing job. I've watched them for years and years. I had a detail myself because there are crazy people out there who would want to do harm. You know how close that idiot assassin got to the Kavanaugh house, God forbid, not far from where I live? I mean, he and his wife and their two daughters are inside. Do you know how close they've gotten to President Trump? And by the way, President Trump is difficult to, I'm sure, I know firsthand, he's a very unusual protectee because he's everywhere all at once. He's under wing for an hour talking to the press. Then he's down at Mar-a-Lago doing a cryptocurrency conference. Then he comes back to do this dinner. Today he's going to receive the King and Queen of England. I remember in the campaign, Labor Day 2016, he was just a candidate, Maria, and the Secret Service would not let us get out of the vehicle. Mike Pence, Donald Trump, and me. They would not let us get out of that vehicle because they had swept it for a county fair, and instead thousands and thousands and thousands of people had showed up and they said it's not safe. He was a candidate. Now he's president. So it's an occupational hazard. He told me on my Fox Nation show a year and a half ago, he doesn't think he can ever be totally safe. We need to do more. We need to say less and do more. And I don't know that people are going to turn down the rhetoric. And by the way, Cabinet doesn't need to hang out with the media to think something like this if you think about it. You're already important people. You're Senate confirmed. You're doing great work here. Okay, it was going to be a nice night in Washington. I've been to the dinner dozens of times. But at the same time, we have to think this through. That's an active hotel. People are walking around, some in business suits, some going to the pool. It's an active hotel. I want these people safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really upset today about my friends in the administration.
Yeah, and that's why the president told me the ballroom today is more important than ever. And the full pay runs out Friday in terms of the DHS shutdown. So some of them are still getting paid, but Friday is sort of like D-Day. Kellyanne, thank you. Kellyanne Conway, we'll see you soon. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Maria. You got it.